right, back. So, welcome to Double Tail Training Grounds. This is our home, RC Gun Club's home
Hello.
range.
My name is Philip Corner, and today we have a special guest. He is the owner and chief instructor of NWA Firearms Training and Defense Academy. He's the president of the Iron City Gun Club, NAAGA NAAGA of Central Alabama. He is the NAAGA Alabama State Director. He is the NAAGA Certified
You can
Pistol
just say
Instructor.
NAAGA.
He is NRA Basic Pistol Instructor. He is an NRA Chief Range Safety Officer. He is a USCCA Certified Training Counselor. He is a BHF, CCHD, WHF, CTMST, and EFAF instructor. Yes, none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Brandon Gerald.
What's going on, partner?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
Man, thank you for the invite, bro. And welcome to my second home.
Bruh, this is a beautiful, beautiful location. This is truly a dream come true for anybody that actually is a gun or weapons enthusiast.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But I'm sure that people really want to know, it's many people that don't know you out there. So where does Brandon Gerald come from? Like, what was your origin?
All right, so I'm born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. My mom's side of the family is from Prattville, Alabama. My dad's side of the family is from Homewood. So I pretty much grew up half city, half country. Graduated from Ramsey High School. Yeah, that's how I met this guy right here. So, but also, I mean, firearms has been pretty much a part of my life before I even realized it was. So my dad was in the Army. He was a honorable discharge sergeant, served in Korea. And we always had guns in the house all the time. So it was just something I grew up around, but I never really paid attention to it for real because it was just a part of life. It was just something that I was just used to. And I spent a lot of time, I spent 14 years in the car sales industry. And so I have a pretty big sales background, and then the pandemic happened. Pandemic happened, shut down half my dealership, flipped the world upside down. So I mean, back then, if anybody would have told me I still wouldn't be in that business right now, I would have looked at them crazy because I had spent so much time in it. But I mean, this was always something that I always did as far as going to blow off steam and stuff like that. So I never really considered it a real profession until I heard about NAAGA, the National African American Gun Association. And I said, a black gun organization that well, let me back up on that. The NAAGA, National African American Gun Association, was founded in February 28, 2015 by our national president, Philip Smith. And so it was all about, our main mission is about the education, safety, and training of African Americans. It's because having guns and stuff like that was not necessarily the most promoted thing in our community. It was either, if you had a gun, you was either police or a thug. And it's not that. You have Second Amendment rights just like everybody else does. So I was like, found out about this. How do I get involved? I signed up nationally, and then I'm thinking, okay, this is red state gun-toting Alabama. There's got to be a club around here somewhere.
You know what? We're gonna get to that.
Mm-hmm.
I see where you're going with that.
Okay. I'm jumping a little ahead. I'm saying, okay.
We're gonna get back to that a little bit later.
Okay.
See, that's how I know that you were meant to be doing this because of the enthusiasm that you have. You're supposed to have that type of enthusiasm for what you do every day.
Yeah, man.
Like, you just show so much love for what you do. That's how I know that all of your clients actually get the best service possible because of how much love you put into it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Man, that's awesome. So, I guess that was a good segue. Because what really pushed you into, so you said you were looking for something for yourself and for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it that you originally were looking at the NRA and were like, we're not that invested in that area, let me see if it's something, or was NAAGA actually brought to you?
Well, the reason for me actually doing this was a little bit more community-based because I'm looking at living in the city of Birmingham. On the flip side of that, you got the one of the cornerstones of the civil rights movement. You go downtown, you see so many historical things as far as African Americans, as far as fighting for rights and things of that nature. And on the flip side of that same coin, you're talking about the same city that they filmed the first 48 in.
Regularly.
So I mean, it's not the prettiest thing, but I had to look at the fact of a lot of the reason why our young brothers are going to jail and because of gun violence and stuff like that is an overall lack of knowledge. And so I said, I can't stop everything, but what can I do to try to help out the situation? And so when I figured out that NAAGA had that same thoughts and mindset that I did, that's where I kind of switched over. Well, it wasn't the fact of switching over. It was me being more involved in that. Now, I don't have anything against the NRA. I mean, I'm an NRA instructor, of course. But at the same time, I know that historically, it wasn't something that was really promoted to the African American community. So it wasn't the fact of me just saying, well, we're against the NRA or against anybody else. We're just for us.
Now, that is a good point because, of course, one of your credentials is you're the Alabama director.
Mm-hmm.
That was a strong move. That's a very important position.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything myself against the NRA.
Mm-hmm.
I fully believe in being able to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to.
Right.
But did you feel more of an opportunity dealing with NAAGA, whereas going into the board side of the NRA?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's more so of I kind of fell into NAAGA a little bit harder simply because I set up the very first gun club. And so it went from there, from actually setting up Iron City to helping to set up Rocket City Gun Club and setting up Capital City.
I think we're gonna have to finish the rest of this in a second.
Yeah.
So this is where you kind of train tactical movements, things of that nature. So you actually walk through this, and some of the walls are in the back are actually set up to move. So I can come in here and move things around. You never get the same training, the same training twice.
So like you said, you train police and SWAT and other teams of that nature that come here for training. So of course they can't get back to their buddies and be like, hey, this is where you gotta turn.
Exactly. Because it can change from real to real. So we just walked through the observation deck. So there are cameras that are around. So you can sit in this and actually watch everything that's going on. But for civilian training, we use this for home defense fundamentals. What happens if you hear a bump in the night and you have to go and clear your house? How does that really look? And then we turn these lights off, whatever. So it really imitates what you really do in that situation.
And that's like hands-on training. You know what you need to do.
Sir, because a lot of people say they know what they'll do, or they think that they know what they'll do, but it gets real when these lights go off.
It gets real when you actually got to do what you say you know what to do.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's doing many things like set up bathrooms and all that stuff. They did a really good job in setting this up.
It really did. This is better than some of the freaking places I trained in the military.
Shoot from cars and things of that nature. So it's a lot, but we try to be all encompassing in everything we do as far as training.
I mean,
so as y'all see, we've had a bit of a background change. We're now in the classroom, and we're going to go ahead and get back into our conversation so that we can get some more of this education and understanding of not just owning a weapon or a gun, but being a responsible gun or weapon owner. So, as you were saying earlier, you want to get this education to people. So do you really believe that every gun or weapon owner needs this education?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not just the fact of me being an instructor and the fact that it will look good or it will make me more money. Like, absolutely not. It's all about the fact of making sure that somebody can be responsible, because I have a lot of people that come in, first-time gun owners, never touched a gun before a day in their life, and they feel like since they own a gun, they get the warm and fuzzies and saying, well, I got something to protect myself, when you really are more scared of the gun than anything else that was coming to hurt you. So having knowing what to do in certain situations, proper grip, proper stance, I mean, all the little nuts and bolts that go along with it that a lot of people don't even realize is a part of that. And just because you own a gun doesn't necessarily mean you're going to shoot whatever that you plan on shooting, or I would say eliminating certain targets that you need to eliminate. So it's not the fact of just saying, I own a gun, I think that I know what to do. If you don't know for sure, you need the education. I'm not going to say that you don't need to own one, but you definitely need to have the education.
So, as far as being educated, when is the best time to start getting this education?
As early as possible. I'm not saying that you need to take your 2-year-old out on the range or anything like that, but you can start teaching certain safety rules to kids and stuff like that, because you got to think, when did you get a water gun? When did you get a squirt gun? Well, you can start training those fundamentals at a very early age. And as far as having the fundamentals down, I give this analogy in my classroom. What age did you start driving? Let's be real.
Limitations is over.
Let's be real.
Okay, 12.
Because I started like 8 or 9, just driving up and down the driveway. And so that's why I learned certain things. So do you feel like you're a better driver now or back then?
If I let my dad tell the story of my first real driving experience, he's going to say now, because back then I went down. Yeah.
But
that was a scary time.
But how did you get better? Experience. So the more and more you drill that into younger kids as far as the safety things, it's not something that they're not used to. And so when they get of age, when it's time for them to have a gun or in certain situations, you have to think about, has it already been ingrained in them? Or is it a fresh, brand new thing, and the last thing that they know about guns is playing a video game? So it's up to the parents to really start setting the children out in the right way they need to go. So I don't necessarily say that there is an age limit. As far as my liability is concerned, I like to see at least 12 and above, and having the parents out there, because it's a family thing. You're supposed to learn together as a family. Because as an instructor, I'm not going to be at home with you to tell you this thing or that thing, whatever. So that's really up to the parents. So start out as early as possible.
But they always say the first training always starts at home.
Absolutely.
Much like you, my dad was a Marine, so there were always something in the house, all the way up to crossbows and bows and arrows.
Right.
So it was always something to get yourself familiar with and understand how to safely utilize it.
Right.
Now that's a good thing, because education is super important. So do you feel like with weapons and firearms, is it more of a gender-driven arena? Like, do you see more men, very few women, or are women even allowed?
Oh, absolutely. Women are definitely allowed and definitely encouraged. I would say as of recently, the dynamic has kind of flipped a little bit, because at one point, that guns were just known to be this manly, beat your chest type situation, but it's a lot of women that are actually in this now. Like, I'll say at least 60% of my students now, I'll say about 70% of my students now are female. So that's how the paradigm has really kind of shifted. And as far as getting into really training and things of that nature. With men, we have this thing called an ego. And with the ego, we can't say, well, I know you can't tell us anything, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But with a woman, they have enough smarts to know, I know what I don't know. And I need to have someone to come out and train me the proper way. So I love the fact of how it's actually shifting.
Because I was thinking that earlier with education, if you don't have it with the weapon, you can actually hurt yourself more than you actually protect
Absolutely,
yourself.
absolutely. And it's having that idea of saying, okay, I need to be trained the proper way. And sometimes if you have family members that can teach you the right way, cool. But I tend to see that family gets a little bit more too overly invested, if that makes any sense. Because it takes a lot of patience to actually treat someone how to go things step by step and step by step. And so family members may mean well sometimes, but they get so passionate that there becomes a barrier because they're yelling at somebody because they may have the best intentions in the world, saying, I want this person, I love this person, I want them to be the best they possibly can be. And so over the course of time, there may or may not be a disconnect. So it's always best to, if you need to step outside of your normal, saying, well, daddy can't do it, mama can't do it, whatever, come to a professional. And there are plenty of us out here.
Right, because I'm very sure y'all would much rather have safe, capable people with weapons walking around these streets and have to worry yourself even more than normal.
Right, absolutely.
Because that makes a big, big difference in it. Now, I just want you to talk a little bit more about this facility before we get.
This is the classroom that we teach out of. So we do a lot of classroom work instead of just going out to the range all the time. We actually do sit down and talk about stuff before we go shoot. All right. I'm turning these lights on as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. This is the day room. So we want to come chill, relax. This is where we come, sitting down, talking, discussing. This training grounds is also where a lot of your law enforcement come to train at in Alabama. So SWAT, ALEA, stuff like that. So we actually have sleep-in bunks that are in here as well. Shower and all that stuff in the back there. And this is a secondary classroom that can also be used as a bunk as well. And there's another shower and stuff back there.
So this location is really all inclusive.
Yes. Here. Way, but also they're doing a little renovation back here. But this room is where we do unarmed hand-to-hand combat. Like I said, doing renovations because it leaks in here sometimes. But we do, and everything is not just about guns all the time. Sometimes you don't have a gun on you, or if you have to figure out how to get somebody up off you, we train that as well.
For the gun club members that come during activities and things of that nature.
Yeah. So, I mean, whenever we do something, it's an all-day event. And so, we just come out and, again, everything isn't all about guns. And then we do sit and chill. It's a family-type vibe when we come out. So, this is what we do. All right. Let's see. Turn this light off real quick. Restrooms back this way. Krav Maga. So that's where they do all the training that over here.
This is a full self-defense training facility.
building.
Mm-hmm.
You also are teaching hand-to-hand combat,
Correct.
close quarters combat,
Mm-hmm.
and that's coming from you, your training services itself, or are you bringing in some?
I put that a little bit more. I mean, I have, for the most part, I try and handle a lot of it myself, but I mean, I have background in Aikido, Judo, Krav Maga, stuff like that. So I can teach a little bit, but I know as far as taking it to another level, I have other people that I work very closely with that are black belts, that are, I mean, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, things like that, and they're all a part of the team. So if it's something, it is just not all about guns, because guns are the last thing, the last resort that you come to. I will tell anybody, I'm good with a gun, but I'm really nice with my hands too. So you don't have to resort to a gun. If you can get away from a situation first, and by all means do that. If you can escape a situation, if you're in a situation and you say, okay, this doesn't look good, okay, then you can get away from that. But if you're pushed to defend yourself, what is the best way in that particular situation in order to do that? So it's not necessarily a gun all the time, because you could escalate a situation that wasn't even supposed to be to the level that you took it to. So it's important to teach those things as well as the gun training as well. So yeah, we do have different facilities here, and from there it's all about which way you want to go to. I can do unarmed self-defense, I can teach certain things like that, but I really comes down to what the student is looking for, and also their physical limitations, things of that nature, that kind of determine which way we need to go.
Now that is great, because everyone's not meant for a certain way to defend themselves.
Correct.
Some people have a better skill in other ways than others.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to come to someone and get that full assistance, especially from NWA Firearms and training,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an awesome package to get.
Right.
Go ahead.
Because I mean, I look at, when I set up my personal business, it was to go alongside with what I was doing with the gun club. And so I wanted to make sure that I had, that's why I call it NWA Firearms and Training Defense Academy, training and firearms training and defense. Mm-hmm. So it's not just necessarily all about guns. I want to make sure that I put that in there to say, hey, if you want to learn about this, if you want to learn about that, whatever, I can definitely offer those options for my students.
And that's awesome, because we need that, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just, like we were saying earlier, pieces of it.
Right.
And that's great that you're able to be all inclusive to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that goes back to your values that coincided with where you are now.
Right. And because outside of this, I also do security at a couple of different clubs in the city of Birmingham too, and that can be really rough. And so even with my security team, one of the things that I teach them is de-escalation. If I got to put my hands on somebody, I've lost, I failed. What can I do to talk my way out of that situation? What can I do to bring the situation down? And that's also one of the things that I incorporate into classes as well. Can you look at a situation and say, hey, I don't need to be here, or just being the situational awareness that is most important, situational awareness. Knowing to be able to be aware of your surroundings. You see certain things that don't feel good. Listening to that little voice in your head saying, hey, you might not want to do that. Because the older that we get, sometimes that voice may get a little bit louder, maybe softer, but just being able to listen and say, hey, if this don't work, then cool. So even if someone comes to you and calls you every name in the book, words don't hurt me. I can walk away. It is not, my pride is not so big and so fragile that I have to respond to words.
Right. So
there's also teaching that de-escalation is most important too.
Because as they say too, there's levels to everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I know you have classes that you can sign up for, whether it be individual or for group sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, as you were saying, as we were talking earlier, think what's the event you have coming up?
Next Saturday, March the 11th, we have cigars and ARs. So again, it's kind of hiding the medicine and the candy as far as like, I mean, most of the people that are actually in this have other vices. So cigars may be one of them and things of that nature. So I try and incorporate a lot of those things to make it be more towards real life. But on the flip side of that, learning about the AR platform, knowing that it's not an assault weapon, no matter what the media may want to try to tell you, and getting to know more about them, because a lot of people went out and bought those as well when they started out the pandemic. And so they don't know the first thing about them, how to load it, what the moving parts are, if they have a malfunction, how to do all that. So that's what we teach as well. So that's going to be March 11th from 11 to 4 o'clock. We're going to have food out here on the range. We got a food truck, Gumbo to Go, that's going to be out here too. Let's see, we got the Stogie Station that's going to be out here actually selling cigars too. So, and we have a couple of different partners. I got a special surprise, like a certain member of the club that's coming out there. I'm very excited about.
Oh man, that's going to be a great time.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a great time for couples to come out.
Absolutely.
Is there an age limit?
Like I said, I try and keep it at least 12 and above. But at the same time, you know, as far as a parent, you know your child. You know the maturity level of whether you would trust them being around firearms or not. So if you feel that they're not, because I started shooting at 8 years old. So I can't say this child isn't ready at a certain age. It's really up to the parent.
That is true. So, do you got any future plans you're thinking about putting out there?
Well, I mean, I got a couple of different things as far as the curriculum is concerned, because I mean, there's a lot of different things that I do already as far as the basic handgun and concealed carry and home defense, the women's handgun fundamentals, countering the mass shooter threat, emergency first aid fundamentals. I mean, it's a lot of different classes that I teach, but that is majority through the USCCA or NRA. The next thing I'm working on right now is taking the best out of all of the curriculums that I train and coming up with with one specifically for my business. And it's a lot. There's a lot of things that overlap, and there's a couple of things that are kind of totally different. And then when it comes down to our community, and especially with Birmingham, there are certain things that I want to get into personally. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. Eventually, I mean, this is a great facility, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out here so I can hold myself accountable. That eventually the Iron City Gun Club will have our own facility. So, I mean, this is as far as where we at right now, Double Tap Training Grounds, they've been absolutely amazing as far as being able to work with us, as far as being our home range. The manager, Scott, the owners that have been absolutely outstanding with us, but it's nothing like having your own. It's nothing like being able to come home to your own spot. So holding myself accountable, or holding everybody else that's accountable in it, that we're going to have our own range.
And I'm very sure it's on the way.
Yeah.
Very sure. Because you have put so much into what you're doing now. You have already touched many people already through Birmingham.
Yeah, man. I mean, that is the blessing in all of this. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the money's cool, whatever, but I look at how my training, as far as with myself, as far as the other instructors that are in the group, I mean, I try and be a mentor to everyone, because it wasn't easy for me to get where I am now, because I'm not gonna say there were never any instructors in the city of Birmingham, but nobody was doing it to a level that it was actually visible. I mean, you may know a person that knows a person, and they may be great instructors.
You had to find somebody.
Yeah, and so I had to actually go out different cities in the country. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I burned the road up going to Atlanta, Tennessee, Florida, and I have all these mentors now that kind of poured into me. And so now I want to be able to pour into other people in the city of Birmingham that don't have to go through what I went through. And so, I mean, seeing the impact of what we've been able to bring into this has been absolutely amazing. I'm so thankful about what the impact that I've been able to bring in and what we've been able to come through as a team.
And that's what it takes for success. A lot of people lose the fact of that. Cause I think it's a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a group.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that is the best mentality to have, because not only are you uplifting yourself, you're able to uplift the people around you. And with more power like that, you're actually able to reach the goal of touching more of the community.
Right.
I really want to thank you so much for taking your time, giving me a tour, allowing me into your apartment.
I mean, this is my second home, because I mean, as much as I'm down here, I mean, I'm here at least 2 weeks out of the month. I mean, 2 weekends out of the month, and so I mean, I pretty much know this place like the back of my hand. So, and as long as I can come down here and I can afford the ammo, then I'm down here, man. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that if you're looking for training, if you're looking for something to do, something positive, we have it out here. It's available for you.
So how can we get in contact with you?
Ooh. All right. So I am very hands-on with certain things, including if my students want to get in direct contact. So I give my phone number out. And so, I mean, the website is on the way, because I'm constantly revamping, constantly doing that, because I'm so nitpicky with how things are portrayed. So if anybody has any questions, you can call me directly. My number is area code 205-835-0321. And then also on Facebook, Instagram, if you want to reach out to Iron City, Instagram is Iron City 205. Yeah. And then Facebook, if you look up Iron City Gun Club, we should pop up. You have the public page, the private page, and it's a lot of things that are also coming in the future. Like the website are on the way when we actually get everything together, because just when I think we have something, we have it down, okay, we got to add something else, or we got to add this, or we got to add that. So, and that's one thing I'm really trying to get over, being a perfectionist. So, but I'm very particular about how certain things look. But again, if you want to reach me directly, or if you're looking for any other type of training, any questions whatsoever, the only dumb question is the ones you don't ask, and especially when it comes to firearms.
Exactly. So, thank you again.
Thank you, brother.
Hopefully, we'll be able to get next time, goddamn, pop some shots.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I ain't scared of the rain. You scared of the rain? I ain't scared of the rain.
I just don't feel like cleaning my gun. So
I tell anybody, if it ain't raining, we ain't training, man. So
yeah, that's what Dr. said.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. We'll talk about that story off camera.
Oh yeah.
Thank y'all for joining us, and hope you enjoyed this episode with our special guest, Brandon Gerald. And tune in next time, see what more understanding and information we can get to you.